This is a story of a fictional man named Ibrahim who decided to escape Sharia law in his Arabian home country and head to the green pastures of a European welfare state after he witnessed Swedish aid workers erect a hydropower plant near his village. Ibrahim was standing in his tent when, to his surprise, he witnessed female workers not wearing a wheel of any kind surveyed the area and applied the building specifications for the intended plant. What the... Do they let women work, he thinks? And who taught them how to read building blueprints? Something isn't right here. As Ibrahim has settled down from this shocking experience, he approaches one of the male workers and asks about their country. Don't you have your women wear wheels the way God instructs to? He asks. No, we consider that oppression of women, the Swedish man responds. A wheel oppression of women, he thinks to himself. These people must be crazy. They sure seem rich though. Wonder how I can get myself a share of that wealth. Ibrahim approaches the Swedish man again and asks for his name. I'm called Jöns, he says. Okay, Jöns. Do you have any other projects planned after that power plant is done? We could use some asphalted roads here, Ibrahim says. I'm sorry, after this is done, we're heading back to Sweden. So what will you do then? I'll produce a written report to my female boss and then return to my family who's waiting on me back there. A female boss? These people are clearly committable. Has their wealth driven them mad, he thinks to himself. My tent or life in an advanced society with these lunatics. Wonder what would be the best. It sure sucks having to manually pump water out of the well. Ibrahim addresses Jöns again. Is there any way for me to come there with you, he asks. Well, formally immigration is restricted, but it's pretty easy to be granted asylum if you're a refugee. But that might not be that easy from your country, since there's no military conflict here. Are there no grounds for granting asylum to me then? Sweden does readily grant asylum to people persecuted for their sexual orientation, which I understand is something that goes on here. So if I was the kind of person that did another man up his butt and they didn't like me here because of that, I could be granted asylum. Yeah, we cherish homosexuals. You'd be welcomed with open arms and have all sorts of people accommodate your every need. Me, a homosexual? No. There has to be some other way, Ibrahim thinks. Over in neighboring Jihadi Republic, they're at war with the USA. If I tell the Swedes I'm from there, I bet they'll believe me. That's it. From now on, I'm a citizen of the Jihadi Republic. Now Ibrahim concocts a story of how he's on the run from the conflict over there, and that he, because of the American invasion, is in need of asylum somewhere. He approaches the Swedish embassy in his own country and tells them he just made it out of the war, and now they buy a plane ticket to Sweden for him and agree to start processing his application for asylum. Upon arriving in Sweden, he is assigned an apartment of his own, which to his astonishment actually has running water and even a color TV. He doesn't like having it on though, because on nearly all the TV channels there are lots of women not wearing wheels. The Swedish government also pays for all his expenses during the asylum application, and when it's granted, he is entitled to 2 years of no questions asked government support along with voluntary classes in the Swedish language. Ibrahim, however, prefers staying with his Arabic, and the authorities happily let him manage just fine with that, supplying all the information he needs about participation in Swedish society in his own language. Ibrahim had almost forgotten his family back home, but now he learns that as an official refugee, he is entitled to have his whole family brought to Sweden, with the government both arranging all the paperwork and also paying for the flight. The official Swedish term is anhöriginvandring, immigration of relatives. He learns that Sweden even has a formal law detailing this very entitlement, Regulation 1984-936. On subsidies to refugees for the cost of relatives traveling to Sweden. Ibrahim realizes that the law also gives him the right to apply for having other relatives move here as well, and considers bringing his father too. He contemplates the idea for a moment, then decides that Hassan would never stand Sweden with all the unwheeled women, so he scratches that idea. So now burqa-wearing Aisha and their 10 children join him in his 2-room apartment. Soon enough a social worker comes into their home and finds it questionable that they keep so many children in an apartment this size. Ibrahim thinks to himself, so this is where my plans end. Guess I shouldn't have brought all 10 of them here. Hassan could have kept a couple of them back home. Wonder which ones I should keep here if I send 5 home. Which ones do I like the most? The social worker is puzzled by Ibrahim being lost in thought. Hello, have you been listening to me? We need to move your family to a bigger apartment, she says. A bigger apartment? You'll give us that too? Yeah, I think a 6-room apartment should be suitable for now. Don't worry, I'll sort it all out for you. We'll pay the move there too. Now Ibrahim's family lives in a luxurious 6-room apartment and there's little pressure on Ibrahim to earn a living on his own. When he told the employment office he refuses to work with women not wearing wheels, they responded that they had understanding for his perspective and let him stay on government support in spite of not working for a living. Soon the social services becomes more involved in family life, and after witnessing Ibrahim instruct his children in the Quran, they take all 10 children away to orphanages, where they spend most of their childhood. In a move that makes perfect economic sense, Ibrahim and wife also get to stay in the 6-room apartment, while the government pays a large running cost for the foster care of all the children. As adults, these children became rapists and bank robbers, but that's another story.